Today I'm going to show you how to set up a DSLR on the Roxant Pro video stabilizer. The Roxant Pro is super affordable and you can achieve shots with it that rival many of the stabilizers that cost 5 times the price. This stabilizer will drastically improve the quality of your videos by removing the jerky motion you typically see in handheld shots. Just as a reference point, this is how the Roxant Pro should function when it's properly set up. Notice how slow and smooth the camera corrects itself when it's turned sideways. We'll be attaching a Canon Rebel T2i to the stabilizer. The first thing you want to do is remove your strap. Now put the battery in your camera, otherwise it may change the weight and throw you off later. I recommend using a prime lens if you have one. A 50mm prime lens works great on the Roxant Pro for a Nikon or a Canon DSLR because they're small and they're light. If you're using a zoom lens, you may want to set your focal length now, otherwise it'll just throw the balance off later if you make any major changes. If your camera has an autofocus video mode, you want to turn that off and use manual focus video mode. For a DSLR like the Canon Rebel or the Nikon 5200, you want to start with all 3 weights on the arm. The newer version of the Roxant Pro comes with 3 different size weights. You may need to add or remove weight based on the weight of your particular camera. This piece of rubber will keep the arm from slipping. You want to attach it with the rubber facing against the frame like this. We'll fully extend the arm just as a starting point, but we may need to adjust that later on. Next, we want to attach the camera to the top of the stabilizer, dead center in the middle of the frame. Now, you want to attach the handle. Move the handle through the different holes until you find a position where the camera seems best to balance. If you need to change the position of the silver adapter screw, use a penny to move it to a new hole. This is the gimbal. It's essentially a ball joint on which the entire weight of the camera sits. You can tighten the wing nut on the handle when you're screwing the handle into the frame to make it easier. After the handle is screwed in snug, loosen the wing nut to allow for the maximum range of motion. The handle should be as loose as the wing nut will allow. This is an example of a camera which does not have the proper amount of weight on the arm. Notice how it swings around wildly. We're going to reduce the length of the arm until you get a nice, slow, fluid motion. Now we're going to make a slight adjustment to the camera on top and reposition it to correct any front to back lean. By removing some weight, adjusting the length of the arm, and making a minor adjustment to the position of the camera, we can already see a major improvement. But our camera is still leaning slightly to the left. To correct any lean, you can make subtle adjustments to the angle of the arm. Notice how a slight nudge to the arm corrects the camera on top. If tweaking the arm doesn't seem to work, there's a simple fix which requires less than $1 in materials. You'll need 3 2-inch washers and a nut and a bolt. You can simply slide the camera over into one of the horizontal grooves on the frame to correct any side-to-side listing, and then simply attach a couple washers to correct any front-to-back lean. Notice how slow and fluid the camera returns to center when we turn it on its side. If you get the Roxant Pro stabilizer weighted and balanced correctly, you should be able to achieve some really amazing shots that simply were not possible without it. I hope this tutorial was helpful, and happy shooting, everyone.